And we are now going to move on to our next speaker, who is Christine Blanchette. Christine is an energetic and enthusiastic host and producer, turning her passion for running, we're going fitness-wise, from everything fitness into a career. Her show, her online TV show, is called Run With It. It's broadcast monthly and airs on the Novus TV. She's Healthy Living Network, Optik TV. She's got her own YouTube channel. She's all over social. She's also got another channel called The Closing Act, which profiles musicians. So she's got two different spaces, music and running. Oh my goodness. She's such an interesting lady. She streams also on the ZondraTV Network. I'm going to let Christine introduce herself after that. Welcome, Christine. Great to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for having me. And what a nice introduction. And yeah, so you said it all basically. You know, I'm a writer. I write for various publications. I'm also a teacher. I teach freelance producing for social media and broadcasts, and I also teach business writing. So I'm an entrepreneur, and that's what I do. So.
You're a fascinating lady. That's who you are, because I love it that you've just got these different facets. When I met Christine, I'm like, wow, let me just get my head around you. You know, so that's right. You're a writer. So you're a writer, and then you've got an online show called Run With It. So you're into running and that sort of niche. And then you've got this musicians niche area, and it's like you just at this stage of your life that you went, you know what, the things that I'm passionate about, the things that I'm doing, I'm actually going to turn them into their own revenue source and actually give you a lot of joy along the way. And I know you've done a lot of personal growth to be able to get to that phase, go, oh my God, I'm a TV host, you know, like this is pretty cool in what you're doing. I'd love you to share, therefore, let's start with the niche topic, because we've been talking now, I've been going for like about seven or so hours, and we've had a whole lot of different talk speakers, and we're all talking about defining your niche. And that was one of the things that I'm like, you know, we like to be narrow. We just come off Katie, and Katie is like sales, love sales, do sales, bring in the money. And whereas you've got two different shows happening, and plus you're a writer. So I'd love you to talk through how you've created your business and how that works for you, but and what are the challenges, if you like, for those watching going, oh, if I broaden myself in a certain area. There's positives of that because you get to do a lot of stuff. There's also challenges, and I'd love you to speak to those as well.
Yes, thank you. Well, it started from my passion for running, and I think that sustains me for the show because I'm still doing it since 2013, and it all started, you know, my love for running, and it all happened to make a long story short. I was working in sales, and I'm not as, you know, I learned a lot from Katie, and thank you. I learned like sales coordinator, putting ads together, and then unfortunately I got laid off, and I was thinking like, what am I going to do? I know, create a show. And I'm thinking, well, I have some experience, I have some education. And I thought, why don't I create something from my passion? And that was running. And I just took it from there. And it took 2 years to get off the ground. I sent it off to Doug Lucas. He said, send me a proposal. And the proposal was just like following my, you know, what I would like to do for a show and my experience as a lifelong runner. And it just blossomed. Now it's stronger legs. It's more than running now. It's fitness entertainment. I claimed it that, where I interview doctors, nutritionists, holistic nutritionists, actors, authors, filmmakers. But it's not just a running show, although that is a theme of every show. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my running. It has helped me. I owe the sport of running so much. And it just went from there. And it wasn't like a lot of hard work. And, you know, believing in yourself. And I would like to say, people who are watching and listening, that if you find something that you're really passionate about, it doesn't have to be running. It could be anything. Could be maybe sailboat. You could do like a TV series on sailboating. It could be anything like holistic health, oral health, whatever the case may be, because that drives you. You need to have that passion, and it'll just, I mean, you need the tools, right? How to put it together, of course, and you need a team. So what has helped me sustain the shows is a team, having the crew, having that support network. And I just, and I do it, and I don't even know what I'm doing. Like a one-woman show or one-woman shows, and the challenges that I face sometimes is not knowing when to delegate. I also think sometimes I want to do it all and I can't. So that's why having the team, help me get the show to a higher level, grow the show. And just to say, everyone, like the closing act, what does music and running have to do? Because it's completely different shows. But I have a passion for music. And how it started was because I was writing this column called A Runner's Mind for a newspaper. And I thought, you know what? I want to do something a little different. And I thought, oh, I'll just interview an actor who, not just an actor, but interview an actor who's into running. And that's how, and then my producer from Novus TV said, well, would you like to create a show? Like, would you like to have another show? And I said, a music show. So that's how it started, because they liked what I was doing organically. It's a heart base. What I do is very from the heart, although you need to make money, of course, but it just drives me. And then Drew, his name is, said, oh, we'll just do a show called music entertainment. So run with it. I don't just run with it. And then the closing act. So 2 shows that are on cable. They are now, I have a podcast. So what I do is just upload the shows.
No.
So, and it's live streaming. So again, for challenges is just learning to ask as well, and for help and delegating. But I think as I go along, I've grown so much, because it's like, if you don't try, you won't know. And and I wouldn't be here, as I said. It's just following everything that you like to do and just put it in, but needing the proper tools to do that. So I think I've answered your question, Annie. Like,
Absolutely. So I was just pretty much prefacing on how, when you've got 2 very different areas. My next question would be then, how do you monetize that? You can do different things for different reasons, right? So sometimes you go, that actually is my marketing, my brand awareness. That's kind of like in my marketing budget, if you like, because that then attracts other customers for different revenue streams. Or you can have your TV shows that are then sponsored, people pay to be on your show, things of that nature. Otherwise, we get in a stage of, I love it, but it is a bit of an expensive hobby, because there's on cost. So nothing's free. Everything has a cost, an expense, right, to run. So where are you at? And it's fine if it hasn't been monetized yet, but it's like, how do we because all of us are at different opportunities. Many of us start a podcast for that reason. I've got my own TV channel, same sort of concept. But how are you approaching that? Is that on the horizon? Do you where are you at in that journey, and for what reason, therefore, is behind having the show, if you like, besides the growth and the exposure, and a lot of fun, by the way, because it's super fun.
Yes, no, I love what I do, but yes, you need to make money. But I also think if you love what you do, it comes a little bit easier asking, because they see how much enthusiasm you have and you're passionate. So so I have a website. So I do product placement. So it's like customer to biz. So C to business, product placement, video placement, logos, verbal mentions, written mentions. I also do segments. So I reach out to the community. Community is very important, not only, I mean, globally too, but I also reach out because the show's on cable as well, which in my community. So I also have an online store. Well, I mean, it's, if you call, I sell right behind me TV show cups, and I'm looking into growing, having t-shirts, having hats. I've just started a little while ago having, TV show cups. I want to do one for the closing act. So having a store, you have to start small to grow, because I believe it's like running. You have to have a foundation, and then your strength, and then your speed. So that's what I'm doing now. And someone said, why don't you sell do some show, like, sell some cups. I'm like, what? So anyway, I'm doing that. I'm also with you as well, which is really exciting and very grateful. I also get the word out, like in terms of, on Facebook, if I'm looking for sponsorships in my posts, but it's done organically. And I think word of mouth is very important. Like, you can do things online, which is great. And that's what I do most, but I try to do like meeting people. I try to do virtual. The word of mouth really helps, but yeah, and then I'm learning about AI as well. So artificial, and that really helps. It's like, it's so much to learn, but I'm ready for it. And but yeah, that's the, it's on the website, and that's how I've been doing it.
I love that, because you particularly running, that's something that would be actually really quite easy, not easy to get, but if there's an obvious product placement that you can have, if you're looking at all the running gears, the sponsors, the brands, it's an area for a TV show that's right, is very monetizable in that way. And so that's it. While you're having fun doing the show, it's easier to then get those, those ads, or the fact that you've now got merch, which is great. I love the way you put it in womensbizshopping.com. Nice work. Be able to get cups is really interesting. Is that because you're having a coffee while you're doing your show? Hats, bits and pieces, but you could have actually your own running brand. You could actually sponsor to get even white labeled, or
Yes.
to actually have your branded, or run with it brand that from another producer. There's so many different revenue opportunities that once you start delving into it, everything, for those who are listening in and you've got that, you start with a passion, you go, I just love running. What's that going to do? And now I'm loving the experience of having a show. But then when you do that, start unpacking all of those opportunities that you can have, and we know they do it in movies as well. Like, when they have their beautiful can of Coke that they pause on, and, those product placements, that is the world of business. And it's great that you're already seeking out those. I absolutely love that. So how do you then, in your sort of position that you've really come into it and made it your own, so you probably don't need to get challenged too much, but you also want to make it your own style and your own way. Do you go out and look at other podcasts of similar nature, or you go, I don't know, TV shows, or do you think not many? I don't know any others who have a TV show. Sorry, my cat is banging on the door like
No, I love it.
Do you think she's a
Can,
dog? There we go.
oh, it's so cute.
She's rather chunky. She needs the running
I'm
show.
so love animals. But you were asking that, like, how I think, my quote is, be who you are, there's no one like you. I do think it's important to be yourself authentically, because I think that's what sells, is your own brand. But it's good to look at others to grow and to be inspired. That's why I love being here and joining networking. I think networking is huge. And I forgot to mention, with all the things, like as an entrepreneur, I teach running. So I go into the running clinic, and I'm not selling, but they want to know, and I'll say, we'll have a contest. I'll, have talk about cups, but it depends, right? It's not, I try to be very mindful, but if they ask me, I will deliver. I'll tell them what I do, because I put my running cap on. I'll put my running cap on. I'll put my teaching cap. I'll put my TV show. But I'm always like everybody else on the panel, or they're, as an entrepreneur, it's not easy. But if you love what you do, and I hope I answered, it's like, yeah, I do look at other podcasts. I think podcasts are great. I simply upload the shows, but sometimes I will do an interview coming up on a lady who's doing climbing 7 summits. She came to me, and that was wonderful. But I think the more you're out there, the word of mouth, and doing digital, doing everything in your power, I think you can only do your best. And so far, my best is, I want to learn more, and that's, it's going well, but I'm growing. So
Which is great. That's what we want for all of us. We want to be growing.
Yes.
And I love the fact that other people are coming to you. That's what you're wanting. You're wanting to get to that stage where it's magnetic. You know, there's so many people I know in my world that you know, I get asked, you know, 10 times a day kind of thing, can I be on your podcast, whatever, but it's people wanting freebies for their own reasons. And one, you've got to go, you know, does it align with my brand? Is there value there? You know, if it's not incredible value, then it's actually me giving up my time if they're not wanting to pay. So is it a paid position? There's all these decisions to actually make. I also would love to know, are you then strategically looking at some product placement, as in with some influencers, with some celebrities, to because of their reach, because of their power? Has that actually happened on your show yet? That you're using an intentional sort of strategy to go, I'm going to get some key influencers. You know, for example, I'm currently, you know, waiting for a couple of, you know, Australian of the year to be on my podcast or my TV show, because then that then goes, oh my gosh, I'd be so honored, because their pulling power really elevates your brand. Have you sort of approached your shows in that way?
Not really. Well, however, I mean, like local celebrities, yeah, they'll hold the cup, and that's wonderful. They don't mind. Like they'll be totally you know, happy to do that. But I've also made some media appearances, like to come on the show, and it's sort of like collaboration, which is huge. It just influences, you know, as an influencer. But I've had, you know, some really, every interview is great. But I've had like a well-known celebrity with I interviewed him, and he promoted it all over because he loved what I do. But that's a roundabout way I'm trying to answer your question. But you know, I mean, I think it's timing too. I think, you know, I do get asked to do things on my end, but and then sometimes local celebrities will hold my cup and they will be doing it. You know, I'm putting it in Facebook or Instagram, and you know, it's just wonderful. You know, so I just love what I do, and sometimes I even forget what I do. There's so much going on, like with the social media handles. It's like um yeah, I mean, it's no problem with influencing. I think if they align with your brand and you align with theirs, then that is perfect. But you know, it can make and then it goes on, it snowballs, and it keeps growing. So
So exciting. So tell us about the cup, because I like that strategy. So you've got one merch that people can buy, but you can also then go, which I might do myself. I'm picking up tips all through this summit, by the way. So here's my little one that my daughter's bought me, but I could have a women's biz cup. And then do you then send it to them so they have one, or do they actually get interviewed with you in a studio? Like, how do you do the online digital? Are they with you, or are they external, a bit like we are today?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. Yes, I bring the cups. I try to, but over in person. I love in-person interviews when I have the opportunity. Have the cups there, or virtually, I'll have it in the background. Sometimes I'll hold it, or I'll have, like, you know, as I said, have someone hold the cup if they feel they want to. And you can read a lot from body language, you know, if they want to do that, then that's fine. But the cup is growing. It is me, I believe, except I don't have blue eyes, but it looks like it's pretty well. You know, it's a very simplistic design, but I'm going to be having one for the closing act. So what I would like to do is have the closing act music. So I have someone working on it, graphic designer, and I have editors. I have a great team, but I'm being blessed. So it's just wonderful. So yeah, that's.
And I love that, because the person, say I was on your show and I've got your cup, then you've got that, then you actually then have another specific unique item to then put on your social that connects that person, as well as, you know, it's a great little connector if you like to watch the show. Here we are together. It also hones in on the personal. So I really love what you've done there, because that's, you know, if you're having a cup of tea together or a beer or whatever's in your cup, then it allows that, you know, there's that comfortable level, and people love that. So well done to you for doing that. I think that is super cool. So how else do you promote that for different streams? So you do blogging as well?
Well, you know, I do a fair amount of writing. I do have a blog on my website, you know, I put a couple of things on, and I'm not really the best blogger, but I try to upload the articles. But I do, as I said, I do a lot of writing, like for the Sherbrooke Record, which is a weekly newspaper. I'm going to be writing for Impact Magazine, and I try, like I should be better in that. But, you know, I put all my articles on Facebook, most of them on Twitter, but that's where I upload my articles, and you know, and that's where it is right now. And there are some on my website, but I have to put more. And my website's getting a bit of a makeover too. So that's why I've been kind of to tell you that everyone who's listening or watching or both, they'll know. So
That's okay. We don't have to apologize. It is what it is because you're a very busy woman and things will happen in the future, which will be equally
yes.
fabulous, possibly even more, and that's okay. I love that. So tell me a bit about the partnerships then. So your partnership is even just writing for magazines, writing for newspapers. I'm loving the breadth of your journey because you're in a whole lot of pies, right? And so with everything can be busy because if it's just, you know, if it's fractured and they're just things to do, it can be, you know, busy without bringing in the cash. It also can be busy and all equally attracting a whole lot of different revenue streams, which is what we're obviously wanting in this conversation of e-commerce on this summit. That each one of them, whether it's a product placement here, a mention here, a writing, a paid to write here, this or that, they all add up and they also give you a broad brand and they increase your reach because you get the reach
Yes.
of each of those magazines. I'd love you to share a little bit more there.
Yes. It's like a circle. I call it a circle. So what happens is I'll have the show, for example, shows. So I'll upload it to YouTube. It's on YouTube. It goes to the show, airs daily, the show every week on cable. So YouTube, then I upload it to the podcast. Then it gets on radio. I forgot about that. Radio. And from
You're
there,
everywhere.
yeah. And then I take snippets of it and I'll put it on social media. Then sometimes, if I get permission, I'll use their quotes. So like, for example, Dr. Bob Well, who's on the show, can I have permission to take that and I'll put it into like a Q&A, or I'll put it in like a snippet of it with the video. So I don't just park it in one area. I believe just keep it going consistently. And that's the key because people need to look at it. Oh, it's on a podcast, it's on radio, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how it generates and people get, oh, I saw it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn is a really great one as well. So that's, you know, it doesn't, yeah.
I love that because there's a consistency and it's this feeling of Christine's everywhere, right? We'll run with it's everywhere. And that's what you're wanting because while we go, oh, well, I'm wanting to just post in one bit, people, all of your market are in 2 or 3 different places. Plus they might only see it in one and not another because we're all busy. And so that feeling, sometimes you can feel like, oh, but I've already popped it out here. We got to put it in like 5 places for one person to maybe see it, right? So that concept of oversaturation, it's like when the movie stars go and put out a show and then they go and do the thing. They're probably so sick of that spiel. They've said it every single interview, but you need to do that to actually get to everybody, right? Or the people that matter in your instance. So I think that is so fantastic. You are doing so many things, Christine. I just absolutely love what you're doing. I love the partnerships building and they're all scalable. That's what I also love. But when you're in business, you're wanting to also then go, okay, well, if I'm in partnership with this brand, you know, then they're infinite because the more you do, the more opportunities they have to sponsor you on all of those different platforms. So you go from 1 to possibly 10. So your breadth, while for someone else can be challenging, you can actually use it for a really scalable opportunity that others wouldn't have if they just had a solo entity.
Exactly. And I also think it's important too, if they don't mind, say you do an interview, ask the person, your guest, if they would mind sharing it. And usually they do love to share it. So it's another way, right? And they tag you like, and you collaborate, you pay it forward, you know, just if someone interviews you, you want to do the same. And I think that makes a better, you know, better brand awareness, if you will. and it's engagement. So I think that, and also too, another thing I try to do is I do throwbacks. Like I'll do a throwback Thursday, flashback Friday. I'll bring something from the library, I call it, and I'll post it. I look at every month. Okay, it's mental health this month. What can I do? What I've done in the past? I don't have anything, so I'll throw that in there. Not throw it, but I'll post it. And you know, and it gets, it's education, right? You want to bring awareness to it. And then if I'm teaching, and we're talking about freelance producing for social media broadcast, I'll have a speaker in, but also talk about my article or whatever the case. I'll show segments. It's thinking outside the box. I know it sounds very cliche, maybe, but I try to just, can you support me? Can you share it? Can you do this? Because everybody wants to have support as well.
Of course. So you're actually, you're helping each other, really. So what advice do you have for people who are just starting out? They're starting their small business, they're becoming an entrepreneur, going from solopreneur to entrepreneur. Definitely you're wanting money while you sleep. What advice do you have for them based on the experience that you've had?
Yeah, thank you. Follow your passion, find something, because you may revisit. You may, like I had a love-hate relationship with running, and I don't want to go into that. Like I ran, then I stopped, then I ran, but anyway, follow something you love. Have a mentor. I think, have someone that you can go to, be a consultant, be, as I said, a mentor. It could change because as we grow. Also, too, don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't, you could be here. It's like running, I think. If you've got to start somewhere and take those baby steps, grow it well, and also believe in yourself, and just do it. I don't want to sound like the Nike commercial. Just do it, because you never know where it's going to lead you. Because I didn't know where running was going to lead me. I didn't know it was going to reach to another show. I didn't know if I was going to be teaching. I didn't know if I was like. It's just been a wonderful. Well, it's been a roller coaster ride, but it's been great, because that's, as an entrepreneur, as everybody here, is some ups and downs. So, but that's my advice. It's how just just go there, just do it. So.
Just do it, everybody. Absolutely. I totally agree. Just do it and work it out along the way. It doesn't have to be perfect, or you might do something, pick a topic, so you've done running because you're passionate about running, and you'll probably be passionate about that till the day you die. Sometimes you can just have a season for something. It's okay to go, you know what, I had one season and then I went, I've now changed my niche or shifted it, and you can finish that and then have something else. There's also no rules on anything. That's what I love about being an entrepreneur. So it's not as if, like I've actually gone and done that. I had a season, like my podcast has been going for 2 years. And then I went, as I was uploading it to my TV channel, I went, you know what, I can actually break them into every 20 years a new season. I'm like suddenly up to like season 8. Suddenly I just went, wow, that just sounded so much better than one long season.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
wonderful.
You can make it, there's no rules for however you want to market it. Amazing. Another top tip too, before I move to our next speaker, I don't know if Connie's here. If you are, Connie, just let me know. Just do a hello. Otherwise I can keep chatting while we're waiting for Connie. But also there's another opportunity is just, I'll do a shout out for myself, Women's Biz Global. 1, mentoring, so definitely reach out, but 2, I'm a publisher, and that's another opportunity through those of you who've got podcasts, or if you've got a TV channel, that you can actually just get the audio. You can make it really easy that you can do an anthology on a book. So you could do a chapter per book. So say you had you could have a run with it book, for example, Christine, and then you can actually get the transcriptions from each of those episodes. You can bring that to my team. My team can then make them into beautiful chapters that you can then send back to the person so that they can tweak and approve. Most people are happy to do an edit and approve, but they don't, if you go and say, do you want to write a chapter in my book, they'll go, that sounds like a lot of work. But they've already done that. They've already shared on the episode. You've already got the information. And so I'm doing that now on some of mine. My podcast is called Memoirs of Successful Women, and I'm having a book come out, an anthology in a couple of months. And some of them will be fresh stories, and some of them will be people who've been on my podcast who go, do I have to write it again? Can you just work out what I said, whatever? And I'm like, sure. So there's really easy ways. And now my team's got the skills and expertise, or write a book, I'll make you the authority on something. So you actually write your niche signature book. There's so many opportunities that you then get the royalties of those sorts of things moving forward. And also you get all of those people who are connected to you for life then. They didn't then just go on your show or on your podcast. They're now in a collaborative book forever, like Jane Vandermeer was in one of my books. She's a previous speaker before. And it's like, oh, we're always going to be in that book together. Do you know what I mean? So it immediately then puts you in this lifelong relationship. Plus, you then get the royalties if it's an anthology of them being in that book. So there's so many different opportunities. I'm not saying you have to do that, Christine, but it's a very good idea.
I love it, Annie. Like, oh my goodness, it's inspiring. I want to do it, not just run with it. I want to do
it. I'll show you an example. So this is one that so this one's a woman's guide to business domination. And so this is a classic this is, I think 18 chapters, and then they'll have their photo in it. They'll have their bio, and then they'll just do a chapter each. And it's so easy to then get someone to go, hey, do you want to be in this? And then all of those co-authors, it's actually ended up much bigger than I expected, became a #1 bestseller. So all of a sudden, someone who's been in this came out of a previous summit, actually. So I just invited the summit speakers, anyone who wanted to then transfer it into this. And then suddenly, I connected with 20 people. You're a #1 best-selling authors together. And then you then look at the benefits then from then, because you've had this amazing experience. You're also then on each other's shows, in each other's businesses, more likely to be referral partners. The benefit of actually doing that is amazing. So you can have the opportunity for anthologies. You can also then obviously have your signature book. So anyone who's an authority in their niche, that's, one of the, that's one of my skills and expertise. You can then go, you could have your Run With It book. So everybody on the show, has an opportunity to go, well, what makes you, it might be your story or your tips or, some about your expertise, because it's kind of like if you're the expert in something, where's your book? Do you know what I mean? So, and an example would be, so here's one of my books. So I don't know if many of you know this, but I had 2 sets of twins. Yeah. I got the twins book because I had 2 sets of twins in 2 years, like mental, right? 26 months apart. But if I then, rather than go, oh, Annie's a, exec who does business coaching or Women's Biz Global, I then go, well, I can go out to any motherhood group or twins group or globally and go, if I'm a speaker, but if I get booked to speak, 1, I get a speaker fee, but 2, I'm the lady with the book because I had the 2 sets of twins, right? What's the likelihood that if I speak in front of, 1,000 people at a multiple birth convention or something, they buy my book? Very likely, right? So there's all these, when we're looking at revenue streams, like that's very niche. No one else is going to buy my book. No one really cares about my 2 sets of twins, well, even though they're beautiful. But do you know what I mean? It's niche. But this is as niche as Katie would have the Sales Uprising book. You should have a Run With It book, JL's coming on soon. She will have one on anorexia. Do you know what I mean? Like what makes her be the authority positioning in that. Now, it's not even if many people buy the book, it's the fact that you have the book, right? So this has been a real addition to my business that I've actually then gone and said, right, I needed to then become a publisher to then go, I can make sure that, I have that opportunity for people. So anyway, that's just another little extra. I really have loved your sharing today. So thank you for that too, Christine.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to reach out. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, reach out, girl. Do it. Fantastic. I just love the connections and the ideas, and I have been learning so much through this summit. We've been going for about 7.5 hours already. We're here for 12 hours. Is that you, Deb, getting your hair done? I love it. Awesome. Multitasking. That's the way to go.